Arresting one of their own, a San Diego police officer is out on bail tonight accused of stalking. The arrest comes after a 7-month investigation. As our ABC 10 News reporter Laura Acevedo explains why the sergeant is facing multiple felony and misdemeanor charges.
The sergeant has been relieved of his police duties and has been on assignment since the investigation began last June. He currently has no contact with the public. This is San Diego Police Sergeant Marius Chaz, an 18-year veteran of the department, now arrested for stalking. San Diego police say their investigation started last June when a woman reported she was being harassed by her ex-boyfriend. Court documents detail the alleged harassment. In July, the woman was granted a temporary restraining order against Chaz. The woman, who was in a relationship with Chaz at the time, reportedly began getting text messages from unknown numbers saying they had her personal information and nude photos and videos, saying they'd be released if she did not pay money. After their relationship ended, court documents say Sergeant Chaz conducted a traffic stop on the woman and asked her why she was leaving him. The documents state Chaz also showed up at a private house where she was working, blocking her car with his, demanding to speak. The woman changed her number, but court documents say the sergeant found it. Chaz reportedly used the police databases to run the woman's license plate and run a records check on her new boyfriend. The sergeant is charged with stalking, extortion, and false imprisonment, all of them felonies. He is also facing several misdemeanors, including disobeying a court order and destroying or concealing evidence. If he is convicted, he could face prison time and multiple fines. Laura Acevedo, ABC 10 News.
In a statement, the San Diego Police Department says it has zero tolerance for domestic abuse in any form, and all personnel will continue to be held to a high standard that our community deserves.
Prosecutors say they believe the murder of a beloved high school teacher in North Park was carefully planned. Today, Jesse Alvarez pleaded not guilty to killing Mario Fierro. Fierro was a teacher and football coach at Cathedral Catholic High School. His fiancée had filed a restraining order against Alvarez more than a year ago, accusing him of stalking and suicidal threats. The court dismissed the case. And today, prosecutors read a letter she wrote about Alvarez.
I stand before you, a woman who has lived in fear of the defendant, Jesse Alvarez, for over a year.
Prosecutors say in the weeks before the murder, Alvarez was caught trying to get onto the high school's campus. He waited outside Fierro's home for an hour before the shooting. On the day of the shooting, Alvarez, dressed in all black, drove his brother's car and waited outside Fierro's home. Today, the judge denied him bail.
New at 11, 2 adults and a child. They are hurt from a fire at this home in Solana Beach. Now, this fire broke out a little after 8:30. This was in the neighborhood across from the fairgrounds near Solana Circle. Firefighters were able to stop the flames from spreading to other homes. The fire department, though, tells us that one person is in serious condition. The other two have injuries that are not life-threatening. Turning now to coronavirus, the county once again reported fewer than 1,000 new cases today, and our test positivity rate, it fell to 4%. That's the lowest we have seen in a long time. But deaths, they still remain high. 51 more San Diegans have lost their lives to COVID, bringing that total to more than 2,900.
Governor Gavin Newsom was full of good news today about our COVID situation. Speaking from Fresno, the governor said that our case, hospitalization, and ICU rates have all fallen sharply in the last couple of weeks, and that will allow more counties to move into less restrictive tiers.
Yesterday, we announced more counties moving out of that purple tier, and we anticipate within a week or two, even more counties moving.
No word if San Diego is among the counties on track to move up. Newsom also said that a deal will be announced as soon as Friday to get California's youngest children back in school. As for vaccines, Newsom says they are scarce right now, but he expects that to improve as early as next month. He also said the first reported cases of the South African variant were identified yesterday in the Bay Area.
And they felt it was a godsend. I mean, that's basically how they described it.
A local church is on a mission to power up devices and lift spirits at local hospitals. It's a story that's positively San Diego. Our ABC 10 News reporter Anthony Pura shows us how the church's donations will help patients stay connected with their loved ones during the pandemic.
Packed and ready to go are 500 chargers for phones and tablets, a part of Project Charge and Connect by New Seasons Church. This special delivery is for Sharp Grossmont.
Evidently, there is a dire need.
Earl Coleman is deacon at the church in Spring Valley. He says their bishop saw and experienced the need firsthand when he went to the hospital for recent surgery and had to stay there for several days, relying on phone and video calls to keep in touch with family and friends.
As I understand the process is, if you needed your phone charged, you'd have to call the nurse. The nurse would have to put you in line with everyone else. But if they had availability of charges, then they could charge your unit and get it back to you.
In an emailed comment, a spokesperson for Sharp Grossmont said in part, "The chargers will help our patients stay in touch with their loved ones. So important during this time when visitor access is more limited due to COVID. Due to infection prevention, the chargers cannot be shared with other patients at the hospital, so these will come in handy." Coleman says it is so important for patients and their families to be able to feel close when they have to be apart, to not only talk to their loved ones, but see them through video and technology.
There becomes a difference in something when you really just kind of lay eyes on somebody. You know, you can hear something in their voice sometimes, but when you lay eyes on them, you can really see if they're actually what they're feeling or going through.
Sharp Grossmont will receive the chargers on Thursday. Coleman says they plan to donate more chargers to other hospitals. Their goal is to eventually buy and donate 2,000 altogether. Anthony Pura, ABC 10 News.
If you have a story that is positively San Diego, send us an email to tips@10news.com. You can also join our Positively San Diego Facebook group. There you can share your stories and connect with other San Diegans.
With vaccine demand sky high across the country, new research could offer a potential way to increase supply. Why some experts believe just one vaccine dose for COVID survivors could help free up millions of shots.
Plus, in years past, it drew thousands with food and attractions. Now, the Del Mar Fairgrounds is being used to help save lives. The new vaccine superstation is set to open.
And the cutting-edge car that Hyundai says can walk to places that we can't drive. ABC 10 News is back in 90 seconds.
With the shortage of vaccines, some new research is offering a potential way to free up supply. Give people who have recovered from COVID just one dose, not two. Our ABC 10 News anchor Derek Stahl is going in depth on these new findings.
When the vaccines started rolling out, doctors across the country started noticing a trend. People who had recovered from COVID seemed to experience more intense side effects than others to the very first dose.
Just the other day, I was in the hospital and I talked to one of my colleagues who unfortunately had COVID a few months ago. He got the shot and he said, wow, it really knocked him out.
New research on 230 patients showed those with existing antibodies to the virus were roughly twice as likely to report fatigue after the first shot than those who had never been infected. They also experienced significantly higher rates of headache, chills, and fever. Dr. Mark Sawyer of Rady Children's Hospital isn't surprised, since those side effects are a sign your body's immune system is jumping into action.
So we know that second doses of vaccine have more side effects. This is essentially the same as that. Vaccination after infection is just like having a second dose of vaccine.
The researchers behind the study then took things a step further and analyzed antibody responses.
This new paper, and actually several others like it, is very interesting because it does show the levels of antibody that you get if you've had COVID once and then you just get a single booster are basically on par with people that have gotten 2 doses.
And maybe not just on par. The research showed people who had recovered from the virus produced 10 times more antibodies after just 1 shot than an unexposed person produced after 2 shots.
Now, there's no change in policy yet. And part of that is because we don't really know exactly what level of antibody you need to be fully protected. But it's interesting and it makes sense to me that, people already have seen COVID and already have some degree of immune protection. you might just need a single booster dose.
Some experts are calling on the CDC to go to a one-dose policy for COVID survivors to free up potentially millions of shots. But others say it might be tricky to confirm people's past infection status, and the data on all this is thin.
I don't think we have enough data on the single dose following infection to know whether that is going to be good enough. So I don't think we're ready to make that recommendation.
For now, the CDC recommends that every eligible person get 2 doses of the mRNA vaccines, including COVID survivors. But the CDC says COVID survivors should wait at least 90 days after their illness to start the regimen. Derek Stahl, ABC 10 News.
The mass vaccination site at Dodger Stadium and 4 other city-run sites in LA will be closed for 2 days due to a shortage of vaccines. Mayor Eric Garcetti says the city of LA will have exhausted its supply of the Moderna vaccine for first dose appointments by tomorrow. So those sites will be closed Friday and Saturday. Garcetti noted that the city received only 16,000 new doses of vaccines this week, which is about the number that the city gives out in a single day.
Starting Friday, the Del Mar Fairgrounds will serve as the latest vaccine supercenter. This one is run by Scripps Health and the county. Drive-through and walk-up options will be available by appointment only. It'll be the first such superstation along the North County coastline. The fairgrounds will be the county's 5th superstation, joining the sites already up and running in downtown San Diego, Chula Vista, La Mesa, and San Marcos.
The medical examiner has released the name of a woman who died over the weekend at Lake Murray. Her body was found Sunday afternoon. She's been identified as Elena Lasowski. She was 44 and lived in San Diego. Police are investigating how she died.
The FBI is looking for the person who grabbed cash out of an ATM when it was getting service Wednesday. Our ABC 10 News breaking news tracker spotted the machine wide open. The technician who was working on that ATM was talking with police while we were there. This was at the Wells Fargo Bank on Balboa Avenue in Claremont. The person who grabbed the cash